Good morning, professional colleagues. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to another edition of CITN Taxation You for the month of April. I want to firstly acknowledge all our participants who have always been part of this program every month to have an in-depth knowledge of the current happenings in our space and everywhere that is happening everywhere. Today, we have brought a juggernaut who understands the dynamics of things when it comes to the topic of discourse. And I'm sure you also on our flyers our guest for today. And the topic of discourse is analyzing the compliance level on registration and corporate governance. You and I understand the role of corporate governance in everything that we do, even as an institute. And we were supposed to be having the executive secretary, but due to exigency of office, Dr. Rabiu Olowo was actually having an engagement with our president, and he has decided to send to us today a juggernaut, someone who we know very well, having understanding, and that is Mr. Titus E. Osawe, FCTI, the Coordinating Director, Inspection and Monitoring and Corporate Governance Directorate. Mr. Osawe, good morning and welcome to CITN Taxation You.
Good morning, good morning, participants. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of my Executive Secretary, Chief Executive, Dr. Rabiu Olowo. Well, I'm sure the relationship between CITN and FROC dates way back. So we are here to attend to the issues that will be raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osawe. I will not be doing this alone today. I have my co-anchor who will be definitely engaging our guest in person of Mr. Ayo. Ayo, can you have a word to our guest this morning?
Thank you very much, my anchor. I'm happy to be here and I'm glad to be part of this program. Mr. Titus, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Without wasting so much of our time, we are going straight to the discourse of today, which is analyzing the compliance level on registration and corporate governance. Mr. Osawe, I want to start by saying that in accordance with the provision of the Act establishing the Council and for the benefit of our participants, can you quickly take us through the mandate of the Council? I mean, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, FRCN.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, my very good friend too. I'm sure we have various places where we meet. This is one of them. And I also want to thank the co-moderator, if you permit me to use that word.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, it's all about Financial Reporting Council. And again, let me say on behalf of my Executive Secretary, Chief Executive, it's a pleasure to be here. And each time we talk about Financial Reporting Council, going back memory lane, when we were the Nigerian Accounting Standards Board, CITN has always been part of us, being on our board and all of that. Now to the issue at stake, we are talking about Financial Reporting Council, its mandate as it relates to, if I get it correctly, it's a registration.
Yes, yes.
Now, in the Act, you know, we have the principal act that set up Financial Reporting Council. In section 8 of that act, section 8.1, maybe F or thereabout, between E and G, permit me to be, but at least within that 2-3 subsections, it talks about the registration of professionals. In fact, specifically section 41 dealt extensively with the registration of professionals. And in this instance, professionals have, you know, there's a wide, in terms of definition, those that it covers. We know that we are in the accounting space, financial reporting space. So clearly, you'll be looking at the professional accountant, which even the Act also gave some additional definitions to, that in the case of Nigeria, we are looking at those who are called accountants by way of being members of two, as it were today, but it is said two, professional associations that are in existence as a result of legislation in Nigeria today. And currently we have the Institute of Chartered Accountants, of course, the Institute of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANA. But you see, the definition of professionals also extended beyond the core accountants. It used the word other professionals that are engaged in the financial reporting process. And of course, that automatically brought in the Chartered Institute of Taxation for tax practitioners. So each time we are talking of professionals, we are looking at the accountants, which are core, as it were, and then other assurance service providers and professionals that are engaged in the financial reporting process. So all of those people, by the various, the two sections I've referred to in the Act, are expected to register with the Financial Reporting Council as professionals. I think I will leave it at that. Other questions will bring out more explanation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for the brief introduction to the Act that established FRSA. This leads to the next question, sir. And I'm happy that you are the officer in charge of this very question I intend to ask as the coordinating director, inspection, monitoring, corporate governance. I want to know what is the core mandate of your directorate, and so far, what is the performance that you can evaluate as far as directorate is concerned? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, if by directorate you are talking of corporate governance, remember there's also inspections and monitoring.
Yes.
But I think I can also spread it a little. We are talking of Financial Reporting Council. The core mandate of FROC, as we know, covers financial reporting and then, of course, corporate governance. And you can permit me to use the word corporate reporting as a whole. And so when you are talking of that, you now bring in all other disciplines that are involved in that corporate reporting. You'll be talking of valuation, you'll be talking of actuarial. That is why if you look at the Financial Reporting Council Act, it actually put FROC into 7 functional directorates. One of which, of course, is the corporate governance, and then inspections and monitoring, which I happen to coordinate. And as an offshoot, which directly is related to, let me use the word inspection compliance activity, the registration unit is very key. Because each time you are talking about registration of professionals, then of course, we are looking at it in our own context from the angle of the registration unit. So as a mandate, Financial Reporting Council, of course, deals with things that have to do with financial reporting and corporate governance. You can say those are our 2 strong legs. And of course, when you're talking of corporate governance, extend it a little bit to include sustainability, because all of that we see now under corporate reporting. So that, in essence, are the focus of FROC. Then in terms of maybe how far have we done in terms of compliance? That's by the operators now and those that we expect to get registered with us. If you are looking at it from the registration aspect, I would say not so encouraging. At the offshoot, as of today, on our portal, we have about 27,000 registered professionals. But you know, each time you talk of registration, just like CITN will be interested in, you are looking at those that you will call financial members. So in terms of those that have been up to date in their financial, with their financial obligations, then of course, the number is not so encouraging. Out of that 27, not up to 10,000 have been up to date, in terms of their financial obligation. So I think that's the position for now. But in the area of corporate governance, we can do a kind of spread. For the listed entities, predominantly, they have no choice because they're always on the radar. And then, of course, for those who you will call entities that are regulated, because they are all in the space of our PIE, they also have no choice. In terms of compliance, we'll say those levels of compliance. But for others who are not within the radar of direct regulation, having primary regulators and all that, we are still struggling with the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for rolling out those figures of the registered member and also talking about those that are financially complying to some of those things. I'll still want to stay more on that issue of registration. I want you to assist us make sense of the level of compliance of registration of company and individuals compared to a year ago. We picked up this question because we know we just have the ES coming on board not too long. What can we make as comparison since its assumption of office vis-a-vis what was on ground before now in terms of registration of company and individual? And how have we been able to sensitize the populace as per the core mandate of FRCN?
All right, thank you very much. If we are looking at the, let me say, the current dispensation of Dr. Rabi Olowo, one would say, to be fair, we have witnessed increase in terms of registration. And why is this so? We've been doing a lot of collaborations. We've been doing a lot of engagements with, say, the professional accounting organizations. We've had interface with them, to a large extent, and we've also extended the engagement to professional associations that are also key to us. Of course, CIBN being one of them. This is one of the things we are doing now. We've had interface with, say, an ICSAN, for example, IOD, and all of those people that we know are core when it comes to registration of professionals. So in terms of the number, I believe we are seeing an increase in terms of those that are now coming in. In fact, one of the things we have also done in recent times is to get ourselves involved with these professional associations whenever they are having conferences. We do, as much as possible because of the issue of wanting to be part of it. We always ask for a desk so that while the conference is going on, of course, we encourage people know that we are there. Of course, they also give us a slot, even if it's 2-3 minutes, to say, look, we have an FROC out there to get yourself registered. So all of that has increased the number. And while that of the individuals are going on, of course, it's also, in terms of the entities now, we are getting an increase in the number over time.
Yeah, before I yield the floor to Ayo, just a fallout of your last statement, collaboration with institutes like ours and having a slot. I'm sure you are aware that the 26th edition of the annual tax conference is coming up in May, and CITN and FRC have area of collaboration. I want you to talk to our audience, our members, and those that are not our members who have been part of this program. What are the plans? What are the things people should be expecting, knowing fully well that FRC will be part of that conference? What are the plans in place?
Okay, well, I've just told you one. We will definitely have a desk where the major thing will be to, of course, which we also expect CITN to support us in that regard, encouraging people to get themselves registered. You see, when we talk of financial reporting process, I'm sure CITN as an organization and the individuals who are professionals there know that they are part of it. Each time, in fact, as part of our inspection reviews, we always ask the question from the side of the auditors: do you carry out non-audit service for those that you audit? And I'm sure one very almost, it's not as if it's compulsory, but one area that you must always see as a non-audit service is always taxation. So we know that by virtue of what the profession represent, what the institute represent, there are professionals that do carry out that service. And one of the expectations is that for you to properly be recognized as carrying out that service, not only are you expected to register with your institute alone, you are expected to register with FROC. So that becomes something that, of course, during the coming conference will be highlighted and will be on ground to ensure that to also ensure that in terms of seamless registration right there at the conference. Registration will be carried out. Interestingly, I brought with me, I thought it was going to be a different kind of setting. I brought with me the head of registration, and at least they are hearing me saying this now. And it's also good to know that that's an event that we will be fully participating in as not just as members, but even as an entity.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And this will lead me to the next question that has to do with compliance as well. Now, recently, I saw that there is an extension of a deadline date for the submission of corporate governance compliance reports. And why the extension, I would like to know. And in addition to that, is there any potential benefit for complying or submit your report as at when due? Thank you, sir.
The first benefit will be there will be no sanction.
And that is a powerful benefit, because when you have the sledgehammer of sanction on you, it might be difficult to comply with.
Yes. All right. So, well, it's also good for a regulator to, as much as possible, respond to the reality of the time. And so ordinarily 31st March is more like the deadline for which submissions were expected. But when, because of the responses we're getting and the interface we continue to have with those that we expect to do the filing, it became necessary for us to reduce the pressure on them by extending the submission deadline. In the past, we've had some, do I use the word, an evolution in terms of filing of corporate governance reports. We started by requesting for hard copy filings through a template that we had issued out, and we said, look, people should file using that template. Of course, we now evolved to the use of digital filing, as it were, through the portal. All of these people need to learn. So in order to allow that time for maybe the little challenges, the glitches, both on the side of the portal itself, and even for those who are the users, of course, it became necessary for us to extend the time. But the whole essence of this is, it is compulsory for entities to file, especially those that fall within the ambit of public interest entity. So to avoid a situation where there will be so much tension in the business community, we thought it was nice to do an extension of the filing time, so at least to accommodate more. But like I said, in terms of benefit, yes, you avoid sanction, and over time, of course, you allow people to also learn. They can now have time to maybe interface with other users like themselves to know how to, weather the storm. And of course, they can have interface with us within the 60 days extension period that we have given. Those are maybe some small benefits that we believe have been embedded in that extension.
That is awesome. One thing I know about FRC is that they have this human face. If you want to give it a nod to say they will do their best. But when you flout the law, like you said, the greatest benefit is not to fall prey of their sanction, because you might be seeing yourself on the other side and unable to comply. Maybe you are just joining us and you are wondering what is our area of discourse today. This is CITN Taxation and You, the April edition, and we've been guesting Mr. Titus E. Osawe, FCTI, who is the Coordinating Director, Inspection and Monitoring and Corporate Governance of the Federal Reporting Council. And he's been giving us great insight into the compliance level on registration and corporate governance. If you don't know, those of you that might actually be thinking by now, hey, I have not fulfilled my obligation as at March 31st. The news, good news, if you have not heard anywhere, you are hearing it live and direct on CITN Taxation and You, your institute, my institute, that there is an extension of 60 days, as mentioned by our guest, and that is to give you the enabling understanding of the digitalization of the process, and also not to fall prey of the sanction. That has been our major focus of discourse. And in no distance time, like we used to have, you can throw in your question for our guests on the chat room, and I'll be very glad to open it. And don't forget, he has also mentioned, if you have not registered for the 26th Annual Tax Conference, which I'll be discussing towards the end of the program, make sure you do that, because FRC is in partnership with us to give value and addition even to that conference come May 13 to 17 at ICC Abuja. So, Mr. Osawe, I want to ask this question before I open the chat room to read the question from some of our guests. Recently, the council signed several MOUs, which I'm privy to, with some organizations to enhance sustainable reporting standard. There is need for FRC to partner with CITN. What's your take on this, and what are the steps that has actually been taken in making sure that we achieve this?
Okay, I thought that was like a question as to the to-do. I think it's something that is necessary, and I think we are willing, very, very willing to do it. You know, like I think I mentioned something about this issue of professionals engaged in the financial reporting process.
Yes.
So certainly CITN sits there. So for the ones that you have mentioned, for instance, we have a working relationship, signed MOUs with, say, an ICANN, with NGX regulation and all of that, ACCA. These are bodies that have been able to say, okay, these are the things we want. So I would also expect, because already, I mean, there's something that is there.
Yeah.
We know that by virtue of what our institute do now, CITN, we render service to the business community in the area of our core competence, which is taxation. Yes. Of course, we know that registration is just one of the things, but you see, there are things that ties accounting and taxation together. So I don't think it will be out of place, for instance, in the course of time for us to be looking at, I mean, if you are looking at the financial reporting standards, whether for public or for private sector, there are, especially for the private sector, yeah, there are things that have to do with taxation, for instance, as it relates to what we do. So those are areas I believe we can collaborate. So I think we can work it out as to the areas that we can make now specific requests, and then we tie in an MOU. And of course, I'm sure both entities, both organizations are ready to work. We are ready to always work with any professional body, especially those. I mean, you are like part of us. So we are ready to always engage and work with CITN.
Thank you very much. Like I said, to all our viewers that are joining us on CITN Taxation and You, I want to welcome your questions. Maybe there are things that have been bothering you and you want to engage FRC. This is a platform at which we can reach out to them. I think I have a word from Oluwole Adigun. He is asking, sir, why does it take so long to conclude registration of member? I have made all necessary payment for over 8 months, but not registered. I don't know if we have a word for Mr. Adegon, who is joining us virtually.
Okay, sure, we have a word. It's good that I even have my colleagues here, but it's a surprising information that we are getting here. 8 months, I dare say, is very unusual. One, we'll get your name and then we'll get further details. But one thing I know is that it's possible in the course of your registration. Incidentally, we are all involved in the registration as a body. I have always been involved as part of the process to approving registration. It's possible there was an issue that must have been communicated to you. When you're saying 8 months, that takes it back into 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
So I doubt why that will happen. But then it's possible an issue was, raised and you would have been communicated with. I mean, there's a line of communication telling you what you should do. So I dare say, check your mails and then see whether there is something you were expected to do that you did not do. Otherwise, the registration that we know as of today, if it takes you 1 week, that is even overstretching it.
Wow.
If all of the things go, we are not just trying to paint a picture here. If you enter the registration, which of course is digital, in 48 hours, 72 hours, you can get registered fully. But I know there are glitches here and there. But for 8 months, that's really
Too long.
it's too long. So we'll get your name now and try to, or maybe you can take our details and then you have a offline discussion on why.
Of course, definitely before you leave, we are going to take your details and possibly give us a contact that our members, because that's the essence of
Yes.
engaging our members.
Yes.
And this is the platform to actually see some of the gaps that we might be
But if you don't mind, let me quickly, this year, early this year, we also made, as part of the registration, trying to enhance the registration process, we brought in a few things, and the word revalidation was one thing that I know people were grappling with, because they were expected to, for some just expect, some thought once you register with FROC, that's all. So they were not servicing the registration, so to speak. Of course, that also meant at some point in time, you were actually operating with an invalid registration number because you were not servicing it. And servicing it means paying your annual dues and all that. So what we did was that by the beginning of this year, we needed to now bring everybody on board. Secondly, there was another issue in terms of registration for those who registered, say, way back 2013, and then some who registered around 2018, 2019, and those registered in the 2020s. You see a difference in the configuration of the registration number. So we wanted to collapse everything and make it something that is, that you can just relate with, so recoding and all of that. So we now wanted people to revalidate whatever number they have so that they are reissued a new number carrying whatever number in terms of digits, but in terms of the configuration, there would have been a difference. So all of that can now stretch the registration time for those who had that issue this year, but not when the person was supposed to register at the beginning. So I just thought I should bring that up as an additional information.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we have Mohammed Kabir Umar trying to ask, I have tried to log in and register, but the portal is not user-friendly. Please make it more friendly to make registration seamless. You've talked a lot about it. Maybe you speak to Umar.
I would just say noted. Noted.
The question came before. God gave that response.
Exactly. Just note it.
I want to state that we hardly give room for our members to talk. Just go to the chat room. We'll definitely recognize some of the things that you have. I think there's a question that you skipped, my technical team. Can you please go up? It's okay. Mr. Humphrey Emechukwu is asking, what is the purpose of professionals like chartered accountant registering with FRC? And is it compulsory? 3, what are the obligations and benefits? I'm sure we've discussed this, but it will not be a bad thing if you can re-emphasize some of the things that we have in there.
Okay. To avoid repeating myself so much, these are things that are in the act. But let's even sit on the fact that if there is one core professional that is involved in the financial reporting chain, I think the accountants are there. Remember that ordinarily the professional accounting organizations, they are regulating by persuasion and moral suasion. And so usually in all climes, for not just because of the issue of sanctioning, there's always the government end to put some bit of legislation around regulation. And that's what Financial Reporting Council is doing. So yes, we have the professional bodies, but of course, for each of these, there is always the government side that puts everybody together and do a bit of regulation around professionals in all fields. And in this instance, FROC is not only dealing with accountants. Of course, we are dealing with tax experts. We are dealing with valuation experts. We are dealing with actuarial experts. All of that government is interested in what they are doing beyond the regulation from the bodies. And then if you are talking of benefit, let me just throw this. It may look a little bit small, but you are applying your financial reporting framework today because there is a regulator that says that is what you should apply. Otherwise, you will not be able to prepare financial statement because you won't have any reporting framework to do that. So IFRS is not just being applied or adopted because you as an individual want to do it. It is because somebody says you can do it. So that's a benefit that is not quantified most of the time when we have discussions. But there are other things. It gives you recognition. For instance, believe you me, even outside the shores of this country, if you send in financial statement and they don't see certain things, one of the things that they look out for is to, because they know there's a regulator here who is doing some bit of regulation of those professionals. So if you send your FX and they don't see those FROC numbers, they inform us, they try to find out, is this thing from you or do you have any idea? But those are things behind the scene, which happens. So there is a visibility and there is a confidence limit, a level that you are being boosted with because you are started with the Financial Reporting Council. Those are small benefits, which I'm sure if we aggregate them, you see that there is reason why it is that.
Oh, thank you very much. Before we go to the next question, I think I have one of our participants raising up hand. Can we unmute her, Madam Oluwatoyin Aro, for your comment? Please unmute yourself and ask our guest your question.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning, my moderator and facilitator.
Morning,
Now, please, my question is very simple. I think you've answered one leg of that question. But, because I registered for this FRC for quite some time now, for a long time, I think about 8 years ago, and I have my certificate. But the thing is, now that you are saying revalidation, I'm afraid by the time we start revalidating now, we have to spend money as if we are making another registration. Is it proper? I don't know. And how much would that be? I don't know. I'm really very skeptical about that. So thank you, sir.
But I know your area of concern. But if you have been paying your annual dues, yes, I'm sure you should not be afraid. But let me leave it in the hands of my Oga to respond to that. But if you have been complying annually, revalidation should not be an issue. But my Oga can always speak to that very well.
Okay, so thank you. I have a good support here. Yes. Madam, don't be skeptical and don't be afraid. The truth is, like I think I said it along the line while I was trying to respond to some other question. People just register. You say you registered 8 years ago. Ordinarily, every year, you are expected to make some annual due payment. Yes. If you were doing that up till, say, last year, for instance, the revalidation, as it concerns all of us, including me, because I also registered, it would have just meant you drop in a number and all. In fact, let me put this straight. Revalidation has nothing to do with money. You are not paying additional money because of revalidation. Okay. But of course, as part of the process, you are supposed to have paid up to date before your revalidation smoothens out. So what the portal does is to aggregate your cumulative, call it cumulative debt up to, say, 2023 year end, and tells you this is what your position is in terms of what you are owing as at 31st December 2023. Of course, you know that 2024 has become due. Yes. So add the 2024 to it. So it's not an additional an additional charge that you are paying, but an aggregation of the outstandings that you had up to the date of revalidation. And once you key in the various things, the validation becomes, it's opened up from our end, and then you can complete the registration. So it's not a demand for new charges at all.
I think that will give a very comfort zone to our listeners that revalidation is not additional expense on you, but is to address certain area, which our guest spoke to say aligning to the current trend to make sure that uniformity, goes with the numbers that you are presenting as against different strata, 2013, 2018, 2019, and we the Gen Z. I think currently we are in the move of the Gen Z. I'm sure the number will go in that area. I think we have a question there
Yes.
for Oga.
Yes, Mr. Charles, he says, I struggle to understand why FRC should use revenue size to determine what constitutes a public interest entity. I would like your guests to shed more light on this.
Okay, well, let me say I understand the question the way it is framed, or maybe I try to explain what I understand and then I answer. Now, public interest entity is not something that revenue is used to determine. Rather, public interest entity had a definition that now incorporates revenue as one of the bases to determine who is which entity is a public interest entity. Okay. Now, in the Extant Act, the 2011 FROC Act, it defined public interest entity in summary, all entities that, I'll use the word, are regulated by any other regulator except the only regulator they have, so to speak, is FIROS and CAC. That's the summary of what the PIE definition in the 2011 extant law is all about. But in the amendments, I remember we are dealing with a document that is a legal document. There was now an expansion of what constitutes PIEs. And over there, if you check the 2023 amended act, it tried to expand it by using examples or giving specific details as to entities that are now seen as PIE, in addition to what the other definition was all about. It now talks about concession companies, licensed companies, those entities that have something to do with the tiers, the 3 tiers of government, using a particular threshold. All of that was to now bring a clearer definition of PIE. So it wasn't that, that was to also, avoid a situation where everybody comes under PIE 1, and also a situation where we had instances where those that we believe are PIE, even by the formal definition, they were arguing as to what they felt they saw themselves as private entities. Okay. They are private companies, so they are not under our scope. Whereas most of such private companies, we're actually drawing from our public wealth, from our common wealth as a nation. Wow. And with, in fact, maybe a clear example, you can imagine entities that are in oil and gas telling you we are not PIEs. So if you check the amended act, it tried to give that, cover so that we know who we are dealing with. And then, of course, one of the criteria for determining PIE, which I'm sure you are talking about, is that it now said entities whose revenue is beyond a certain threshold. So if your revenue is from social threshold and above, we are saying you are a PIE. So if you fall below, of course, you will not be a PIE. So these are legal matters, which I'm sure I'm not competent to. We are just applying the law the way it has come out. I think that's the side of the FROC. We have a law and we are applying it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, once you have the law guiding some of your doings, you are always covered. I think we have this information for you, sir, which I want to consider as a take-home from Fumilayo. He is saying that on your portal, there is no contact number or customer service number in case of issues to be resolved. For me, this is noted, and I'm sure...
Yes, this is noted, but I don't know which of the I don't know which we're talking about now, because on each of our outposts, we tend to have a contact detail of 1-2 persons. And then, of course, we also, we try to put contact details. So I don't know which specific portal you're talking about. We have the registration portal, we have the corporate governance portal. And then, so I don't know, but in each of them, I know we have some contact and even some emails always on those portal. And then for general reception, for general receipt of document and information and all of that, we also have an inquiry email which people have been using. So we'll try and give all of that before the end of the program, so it can be, maybe shown to the audience.
Okay, that's a good landing. If you do not have some of those details, one thing is sure that before we leave here today, we'll definitely roll out some of the details that you can definitely reach out to when it comes to registration, compliance with FRC. Before I proceed with further questions and some of the things, I quickly want to make a few announcements to our members. Then I'll come back to our guest for today. The first of its kind is what we have actually been talking about, our annual event that you and I must be part of. And you've heard from our guests today that they are definitely in partnership, collaborating with the Institute on some of the things that they need to do. And it's nothing than the 26th Annual Tax Conference of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, scheduled to hold from Monday, the 13th day to Friday, 17th day of the month of May at the International Conference Center. Just 2 days ago, we had a presidential chat with the president to unravel some of the things that are expected. If you have missed out that presidential chat, I want to ask you to visit our YouTube channel to listen to some of the goodies that you definitely have for the 26th annual conference. The theme of the conference is Sustainable Tax Culture and Economic Roadmap for National Building. And a lot of facilitators have actually been put together to be part of the program. We'll have the politicians that will be there, the captain of industry, from the fallout of what the president said, the DG of Manufacturer Association of Nigeria will be there. Major stakeholders in economic growth and development have actually given their intention, and the program will definitely be hybrid, both physical and virtual. For those of us that will be there physically, people like us like to have a feel of what it is directly, rather than even when we have hybrid program, it's good to have it live. You can imagine talking to Mr. Zakwe on the other side. It will not be as much as seeing him and taking that fresh air. So you need to be physically present at the International Conference Center in Abuja. And the registration for physical participants, 150,000 for members, non-members 155,000. Those that choose to join virtually, of which the president has given a commitment that there will be conference materials for all. Those that will be joining virtually, the registration is 100,000, and there are discounts for different categories of people. The aged that are above 65 years, you have a concession of 50% of the registration fee. For those committee members of the Institute, you have a discount of 25%. And if you are a student of the Institute, you have a discount of 50% also. So you'll be paying 50% of the stipulated registration fee. A lot of things have been put together for that conference, starting from hospitality line, robust technical session, sporting activity to keep you fit. Health, just like the president said, is another focal point of interest. And above all, it will be bad for you to be part of a program without unwinding. I will be talking of the gala night. I won't want to let the cat out of the bag to say, who is the guest that you are expecting for that day. But one thing I'm sure is that there is no dull moment if you are live and direct at the ICC Center. AY, I don't know if there are other announcements from your side.
Yes, there is our mandatory professional training program for Kaduna virtually will be held on Tuesday, April 16, 2024. And in addition to that, the physical MPTP Lagos First Lap, that will be on the April 30, 2024, and the venue is Tax Professional House here in Central Business District, Alausa, Ikeja. In addition, the Institute Professional Examination for First Diet 2024 across centers in Nigeria will take place between 16th and 17th of April 2024. Those are the information from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayo, for that announcement. While we are still rolling out some of the things that we need to do, we made a promise and commitment that we are going to roll out a few things in terms of the details of contact when you get to FRC. And for registration, if you are with your pen, and I'm sure this would also share on the platform, is registration at frcnigeria.gov.ng. These are the email for registration issue. So those of us that are having one other issue bordering around registration, you can send an email address which will give our words that they will definitely respond to you swiftly. Registration at frcnigeria.gov.ng. And you can also reach them on calls and WhatsApp on the following numbers: 0803 760 5518, 0803 760 5518, or 0705 657 4124. Those are the details that borders around registration. And for corporate governance filing complaints, maybe you have one or two complaints bordering around your corporate governance filing, you can send an email to cgfilings with S at frcnigeria.gov.ng. I take that again: cgfilings at frcnigeria.gov.ng. And you can also reach them on calls and WhatsApp for issue bordering corporate governance filing complaints on 0810 727 9340, 0810 727 9340. And for other inquiries that outside registration and corporate governance, you can reach them on dcg at frcnigeria.gov.ng, dcg at frcnigeria.gov.ng. And you can also reach out to them on 0813 822 6229. I take that again: 0813 822 6229. That's part of the things you gain if you are part and parcel of CITN Taxation and You, which is a monthly affair to educate, enlighten us on some of the current trends and issues that have been having. You might just be joining us and be wondering, who have we been talking to? Our guest today has been Mr. Titus Osawe, the Coordinating Director, Inspection and Monitoring, Corporate Governance of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. And it's been a very qualitative time addressing some of the issues. AY, I can see a message from Ayo as we gradually wind up this program.
Yes, I have this message from Bishop. I also need to find out the challenge in getting the compliance certificate issued after making payment through the remitter. I revalidated my status and that of my seniors in the office. Until now, only mine is out. Others are not out.
Okay, well, some of these things, they are things that we are going away with as information. But it's good to know that at least one of you call it compliance certificate. That's a little bit not clear to me.
Okay, sir.
If you are looking at the individual registration, it should have just been the certificate of registration of that particular individual, which comes out at the end of the registration process, you can actually print for yourself.
Okay.
But we have taken note of it. Now you have
All the information.
You have how to reach out to us so that we can attend to some of these specific things. These are IT matters.
Yes, sir.
There are glitches that can happen along the line. But I mean, if I don't know how many, but at least you said you have received yours, so it's possible there was a glitch at the time of the others. Otherwise, as we hear them, we try to correct them as quickly as we can. So reach out to us using the various contacts that have been sent out, then we will attend to it speedily. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Bishop, you have the details as I earlier shared with you. You can reach out to them, and I can assure you that they are ready to do justice to your question. Mr. Patrick has this information too. He's saying I have paid dues and also clear outstanding. I've also uploaded my signature and picture, but he's still showing awaiting account revalidation approval. They have the take-up, and we'll definitely compile some of these things. We have vested to you, at least as a first-time response. You should be able to attend to some of our viewers that are part of this program. I saw a question the other time too, and I think I'll be referring that to your website. Somebody was asking, how much is your registration?
Registration of individual professionals,
yeah.
25,000.
Okay.
25,000 per. Maybe I can quickly run through the issue of registration. Just
okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Registration, we have 4 categories. The first category, I would just say for directors. Remember, we are seeing everybody as professionals.
Yeah.
Director as a category. Of course, for that, what we request from you is your CO7, if it's CO7 days, or your status report from CAC, because that's what qualifies you as a director. And then you have the CFO category. CFO category is strictly for accountants. So if you are a chartered accountant, whether ICANN or ANA, in the case of Nigeria, that's what qualifies you to register as CFO. Of course, we demand for those two. So if you have any other qualification, we don't expect you to, because you don't qualify to register as CFO. The third category is the assurance category. And that is where we believe practitioners, CITN inclusive, should register. We are seeing those that issue assurance opinion, so to speak, those that are assurance service providers, we expect them to register under assurance.
Okay, so
whether ICANN, ANA, CITN, and all of that. And then we have the fourth category, which is governance. Governance is more like consulting, but we just call it governance. And what normally happens is that there are people who would want to register in 2 or 3 categories. They are free. That is a multiple category, a multiple registration category, whereby maybe you have your ICANN, want to use ICANN to register as assurance, but you want to believe that you are providing consultancy service, register under consulting, and then you want to do corporate governance, whatever. Them is for 25,000. So if you are registering for more than one, it will just be 25 times the number. The only thing is you cannot register as CFO if you are not having the accounting certification.
Okay, that's good clarification there. Having understanding of the 4 categories of registration from the FRC as a director, as CFO, as assurance and corporate governance. These are basic things that we need to know. And for that question, it's 25,000, and you have opportunity to register at multiple levels, like 2, 3. But there is a caveat for the CFO's category. You cannot be a person who is actually doing other work and want to become a CFO. It's a core area with expertise, and they expect only the professionals that is ICANN certified, ANAN certified members to register as a CFO. Before I give the floor to Ayo to give the last question, Mr. Babatunde Adeshola is making an appeal, which I consider as a takeover for you, our guest. He's saying that can FRC make it possible for outstanding dues to be paid in at least 3 or 2 installments.
You should have mentioned 1 also. It should have been 3 or 2 or 1 installment. Anyways, it's a take home. It's a take home. It's a take home. We'll take note of that and we'll see what can be done. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a take home, sir. They promise they will revert back to you. Definitely, you will have it in the public space as soon as they give concessions, because we all know how the economy is biting. And when you have a commitment to do certain things, at least you should be given that privilege. Ayo, I want to hear from you on the final note to our guests before we go.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. The final question from my side, to attain effective compliance, I'm looking at, is there any form of stakeholders engagement, training that can help to fulfill this effective compliance from the FRC?
Yes, the answer to that is actually yes. We engage in training a lot, either directly or in collaboration with, call it willing partners. You know, the space in which we operate, sometimes we avoid doing training directly. So it won't look as if you are taking, it's also constitute people's direct livelihood.
Yeah.
So that's why in training, we want to do a training that it's like, enveloping everybody together. And then but if there is a specific area of interest, say by a CITN, as it relates to you, the other time I mentioned that, yes, we are tax practitioners, but we have a lot of accounting as something that we are interested in. So if, for instance, we can carve out from the current standards, for instance, those that we believe are relevant to our area of operation. I recall some 2 years or 3 years back, you are aware of this certificate of acceptance. Certificate of acceptance as part of what, of course, the tax practitioner is fully involved in. We had an interface with the Inspectorate Directorate Division of Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. We were able to do a program for them because we know it's an accounting area. They are not accountants majorly. Most of them will realize we are science people, engineers, evaluators, and all of that. So if we have issues like that, we're always there. But when we have trainings that we believe CITN will benefit from, generally, I'm sure we will now know that we need to inform you.
Thank you very much. In 30 seconds, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us your parting words?
Well, it's all about collaboration, and we believe that the more we collaborate, the more the entire business space will operate seamlessly. So we are calling on CITN, just as they have been open, to continue to be open to engaging with FROC to ensure that this is achieved. Thank you.
Collaboration is the word, and if you have not taken anything up today, let's collaborate with Institute, let's collaborate with ourselves, and let's collaborate with the organization. I want to especially thank our guests today, the Coordinating Director, Inspection and Monitoring and Corporate Governance Directorate at the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, Mr. Titus Osawi, FCTI, for sharing his money with us on CITN Taxation and You. On a final note, it has been a great time with my co-anchor, Ayo, and we promise you that next month, there is another exciting topic that you will not want to miss. The only thing you can do for me as the anchor is you've had a takeover. Don't be selfish. Invite someone to come benefit of the next topic we are going to have. It's a gradual improvement on what we are building on, and that's what CITN is all about. Don't go until you register for the 26th annual tax conference coming up in May. Till we see you next month, stay blessed. I remain your host, Olusesan Okunade.
I am Adeyemi Ayodele. See you next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.